Da 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 da. Hey, you guys. Long time no see. It seems to be like that. It always seems to be like that. But I've been cleaning up the yard, making more progress on my garden, and having a great time in between. Let me see how I'm supposed to be doing this. If I put this crooked, you can get me all in here. All right. Crooked it is. I've been looking up things and, going, I said I would go through basically the whole Bible eventually. Um, Trying to prove this idea of the code and this mechanical aspect of the scriptures running through and through. And of course, there's a good huge part of this Bible I never read before in my whole life. They were just like, it's the Old Testament, something like that. Maybe I don't want to care about. But even back then, say, oh, that's the Jewish side or something like that. But what we've learned when we're working with these stories, at least what I've been figuring out over time is that there is no one came first and this came second. That perhaps in a way, like we know that Buddha and Krishna, that came before. And of course, it seems as if the Jewish people came before the Christians. So there's some kind of order like that. But to tell you the truth, the code is in every one of their works. Everyone's except for Islam. All right, that's the only one. Whatever text they share with the Jewish people, those are all real, and they offer salvation. But for the Quran, there's no code in it, so it doesn't offer any salvation. Plus, I always have to say this is that he meaning Muhammad is one of the only real people in the group here. It's the younger of these sects, these religious things that cling on to the idea of Abraham being real. A real person, that is. And that, and of course, in our teachings, we find that he's not, that all of the characters of the Bible represent an aspect of you, all right? Whether it be Old Testament or New Testament, none of the people of the Bible ever existed. They are not. They are personifications of energy and things that run within us. And they tell a story. They tell us a wonderful story in a myth. But at the same time, within the same writing, you can hear, if you don't lend an ear to it, this idea of sowing seeds. You can hear a pattern and see a particular cadence. And this is where we come in with this code. And I push this code because it proves that no one is sitting around, like this story that we're going to go through today is called Nahum. All right, the book of Nahum. It's only 3 chapters long. It's a short one, but it's very telling in its simpleness. All right. Nahum is supposed to mean the comforter, and what he is really, he comes out as a prophet of some kind. He's a seer. He's telling us a vision of his, and of course all of these are visions. Even he's writing down his visions, right? He gets up. He's going to talk about his visions. Same way with John. All right, the same, or say Paul. He's the one who writes God damn it, the end of times. He sees it all happening. All right, he's the one. He narrates the end of the Bible. All right, Revelation. All right, but anyways, even through all of this supposed different people and different personalities, from the average rock collector to perhaps somebody that was a fisherman and a carpenter and all, and they all know how to write in this code. They all, write fairly well, and they are also steeped in symbology and numerology, and they keep pretty consistent. I haven't, and usually now, when I have homework that has to do with writing and math and all that, my paper comes back all marked up red, just red, red, red everywhere. Fucked up. I was just wrong, way off wrong. But so nowadays I'm older, I'm grading somebody else's paper, and I mark, wrong, wrong, wrong. But it's not really like that, because we have found that the Bible is both, it's telling us one thing, and it's showing us one thing, telling us one thing, but it's also hiding another. All right, but still kind of telling us. All right, just under the wording. Let's take, for instance, this here, because I wrote this down so I don't mess it up so much. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was brought as a lamb to slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. This is Jesus on his way. All right, they pluck out his hair of his beards. Of course, Nazarenes have to give up all their outwardly hair anyways, whenever they get to this particular point. This idea, like a lamb led for slaughter, you are the lamb skin. You are Jesus, and you have to stay quiet. It's the idea of unleavened bread. Nothing's noise. Everything has to stay quiet. Yet he opened up his mouth. Not opened up his mouth. He did not open his mouth, and went on to be sheared. And they were going to take off the outside. And of course, we just read a story with Samson getting his hair cut off, but he had to have his hair. He had to be sheared to go into this kingdom, and that's what he had to do. That was his job. And as soon as he was allowed to do that, he was allowed to drink wine, and then he was allowed to be with the Lord. He was over that separation that they have. Now, listen, I want to tell you about this. This Nahum is a couple of books down from Jonah. They all talk about the same place, this Nineveh, all right? They never can really find out where this place is, but it's supposed to be the place of where, it's really talking about our skin. It's Capernaum, all right? Capernaum, which is talking about the self, talking about you. It's where this person dwells. And they dwell, this soul dwells in you, all right? So think about that as also being, if you're not ready to deal with this, then just let me say it, and I'm going to get on with the lesson. The Lord of hosts. Okay. All right. So Nahum, the comforter. All right. So what I wanted to do, it says here, like I said, the number system works from 1 through 9. One's going to introduce what's going to be the feeling of this chapter, what it's going to be about. That's chapter 1. But the number 1 is also the initiation of things, all right? And then 2 is going to talk about, about its creation. There's something going on with this creation of his. And then 3 is whether or not this connection becomes, one with God, or if it runs off, astray or some kind. So I'm kind of giving you like the two sides of each one of these. So we get 4 is worlds, whether the world is a good thing or whether the worlds are bad things. It just depends on your state of mind, which is what 4 means. And 5 is the body. 5 has to do with your senses and how are they going to react to this. It's also called the brethren. This is the body. This is you. What's going on. Then we come into the number 6. 6 is that top of the chakra. The 6th ladder, where you either go over the other side. This is a type of dwelling place, or this is where you have a contemplation. Are you going this way? Or are you going that way? A lot of times that upstairs is going to be Not available. Just not available. Even if you came up this way, it's just not available. All right. So it's been shut off, cut off from you for whatever reasons. All right. 7, the reason why you were cut off, if you've taken the whore's bait, or if you have been given permission to come over here because you've settled with yourself. Meaning that you're either inside or outside with this number 7, and you either get fed or taken care of, or you are, on the opposite side where they pretend to take care of you and such and such. All right. But 7 is where you usually get your healing from. This is where, you get this blessing where, things are cleaned from you. Your sins are taken from you, and burdens are lifted from you. And if you, for whatever reason, have chosen the other side, they, mom and dad say, good luck. Not they, I would say, well, this divine thing says good luck. 8 is about control, whether you're in control or someone else is in control. But 8 is generally, a standardized place in your mind where you know that you're the boss now, or you are being led around by someone else or something else. Or 8, that's 8. 9 becomes consciousness, whether or not you have God or her in your life. We have her because she is with this consciousness. This is the direction of most all our energies. It's going to this unknown entity that no one seems to know about. But the last few things that I've read about, they're not too far apart from each other, have brought her into it. Her. All right. She. What happens with her? All right. That's 9. And then, of course, 10 is just another 1, starts all over again. It could be continuing from the story above, but generally it's another beginning to another story, all right, or within the story itself. So real quick, all right, the burdens of Nineveh, the book of the visions of Nahum, the Elkosite, okay? Now, Elkosite means God is my bow, so this guy here is a messenger. He's someone who goes, he'd be like you and me. Would be like me. I'll tell you that he'd be like me. We are prophets because we are now telling people that you're not doing this right. You got to do it this way. And this is going to come down on you. So he can say that I'm a prophet because I can tell you what God is saying. All right. And I don't have to use any kind of things. But he talked about this as being a snare. Capernaum is a village of this Nahum, is what it says. Capernaum, the name of it means the village of Nahum. So this is where people that are Jews, that represent this inside kingdom of God, who comes in and is an inwardly person, all right, a chosen one, all right. They're the ones that are a part of this. And somehow the word El is involved when it comes down to trying to discover what these words means. And of course, El is the inside, the God particle part of Elohim. All right. It's also having to do with the end of is Ra, El. Once you have is the spiritual side and Ra, the male side, together, we get boom, we get El, which is an energy. Number 2, so this is set up the burdens of Nineveh, okay? And this is a book of the visions of this Nahum guy, all right? 2, God is jealous, and the Lord revenges. For the Lord is furious. The Lord will take on vengeance and his adversaries, and he reserveth the wrath for his enemies. This is number 2. This isn't sounding good right off the bat. All right. You can see here that this at the end when it says that he reserveth his wrath for his enemies. Now, we already know that if we can't sow this Bible correctly, we become enemies of God. only because we don't understand the word. We don't understand it. And so he's reserving this. He knows that he brings the wrath to you, but he also knows he's going to take it from you. He brings this on. He brings this on. He brings it on to those people that are searching for him. Because if this is all we have to go with, and we have to believe the way religion tells us to believe it, then we'll never find him. Somehow we did. Somehow you and I found him. And so that goes to show the strength of searching. When you really want to find this thing, you'll find it, And that's why our numbers are small and stuff like that. I want to make out that this is all a new age movement. Well, it is, because it's been a long, many, many, many ages before someone actually knew what the hell it was all about. And it repeats itself over and over again. So here we are talking about some guy, Nahum, all right? Just some dude, right? Somewhere far away, and he's writing his little vision. Yet it has everything to do with the code, all right? I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to read just pieces of this, all right? So, it's 3. Only the key parts, all right? 3. For the Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and not at all about to acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his ways in the whirlwind and the storm and the clouds that are the dust at his feet. He's in charge of the 4 consciousnesses. He's in charge of all of them, all right? This is when he says, I've got to set someone a watch up, because when he starts to see these things, you're not allowed in. That's what these 3 things here are talking about with Nahum. It's absolutely wild, all right? It goes on to show that, when God is around, good things happen, all right? But it's looking at this, he says, but he has rebuked the sea, he makes it dry, and he's dried up all the rivers. And these places, this is 1, 2, and 3. These are the rivers that feed this holy land that usually surrounds and rounds. They're all really weak and sheepish, all right? And that means that anything to do with God, the vineyard of God, and anything to do with white, the idea of white, and we're talking about 4, white is the white horse, anything to do with spirituality, is looking pretty dim. They're all on their last lines, all right? 6. Who can stand up before him with this indignation? Who can abide in the fierceness of his anger and bury his poor in the rocks, and therefore they're thrown by him? 7. The Lord is good and a stronghold in the day of trouble. Number 7, the Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. That's number 7. This is that place where we say that, we get the help if we go for him. If we do this, this is where we get our help. He trusts in those that trust in him. 8. But with whom overrunning flood, he will make an utter end to the place thereof, and the darkness shall pursue his enemies. What do you imagine against the Lord? For while they are folded together in the thorns, and while they are drunken in the drunkards, and they shall be devoured as stubble fully dry. There is one come out of thee. Imagine the evil against the land of the Lord. There's a wicked counselor. This comes in on number 11, which becomes 2. I know I flubbed through a bunch of all of that, but you go and read on this on your own. I was trying to come to just the most important parts. What he's telling you is this is just like the story about going up and finding wisdom and going to her, having a part of her, but then there's this wicked counselor out there that's also in the midst. This is the one that's in the street, all right? Well, that's this one here. This is the whole idea. And so it becomes there's this other there's this other entity out there that is wicked, and she is going to, take over, so to speak. And these things are only like 15 things long. Let's see. So, for there is one come out of thee. There's one that comes out of thee, which is your religious side, and your religious is about the black, the what do you call that? The intellectual side of us. All right. There is one come out of thee that imagineth evil against the Lord. And it's a wicked counselor. And it does imagine, it says all these wonderful things that are awful. He kills this, he does this, but this is religion feeding you all these lies. That was 11:12. Thus saith the Lord, thou be a quiet, and likewise many. And thus saith the Lord, though they be quiet, and likewise many, yet thus they be cut down when he shall pass through. That I shall afflicted thee, and I will afflict thee no more. That's 12:13. For now I will break their yoke from off thee, and will burst thy bonds in sunder. All right. And what do we have here? And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee. This would be the whole point of the whole story, number 14. Concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown. Out of the house of thy gods will I cut off the graven image and the molten image. I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. That's 14. Number 15. Behold, upon the mountains the feet of him that bringeth the good tidings, the publisher of peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. All right. I know it kind of ragtag through that, but that's chapter 1. Chapter 1 is saying, this is it. Those that can remember the way, do it, because the rest of it's cut off. He's after the 6th chakra that's not opening. All right. Now, what happens is this is breaking into pieces. You have now broken into pieces, and now everything is scattered. This is where the Jewish people think that they're all the men. We're all scattered. Everyone is scattered abroad. There is no certain persons or race of people amongst the earthlings, the humans, that's any better in God's eyes. And somehow or another, these patsies have taken over this part of the Bible, or someone had believed in this so much that they're creating hell on earth by forcing a round peg into a square hole. For those people with with the ears to hear, I hope you heard that. But that's really what happens. They're making this come alive, making this awful stuff come alive. Remember, the top part of the Bible kills. Why would you want to, why would you want to, stir up hell? There's enough of it. So what happens is in chapter 2, it says they're dashed into pieces. All right. The shield of the almighty men has been made red. The valiant men are in scarlet. That means everything is fine and there's nothing coming through anymore. The chariots shall rage in the streets. The chariots are these ideas where the messengers used to run back and forth. They said usually, anything, that's messengers. And so chapter 2 talks about you, and this is that duality where you have the big part of you, which we're going to call on this one here, because this is how you learn it, is that, you are the host. You're the host of this gods. and it's all shut off from you. So much so that even in the end, it says that not even your messengers will get out. All right. So we're going to go all the way through here. And that messenger is the duality that you have this other part of you, the child, that's allowed to come up and mingle. All right. But it says here, it says, take these spoils of silver, take the spoils of gold, for there is none in the end. The pleasant furniture, she is empty and void and waste. And the heart melteth, and the knees smite together, as much pain. And in all the loins, there's much pain in all the loins, in the faces of all that gather blackness. So in the faces of all gather blackness. So they've gone to the black side of the horse. All right. The idea of your horses are jumping up and down. If you read this, you'll find that the 1, 2, 3, the horses are jumping. They're not, riding. The jumping means they're going, jumping up and down. They're not getting anywhere. All right. That's kind of cool. Usually horses take you on to your messages, but it says here, it says, behold, I'm against thee, saith the Lord of hosts. This is the Lord of hosts. All right. So I'm against you, and I will burn her chariots, in the smoke. That means as they are coming towards him, I'll burn your chariots, and the sword shall devour thy young lions. Because they were saying, where the lions hang out? Where's the baby lions get their food from? What's going on? Where did it all go? This is what they're saying in number 2, in the second chapters. What happened? What's going on? There was something set up here that was supposed to never have changed. What's going on? Oh, there's something better out there that you followed for. Is that what it is? He says, the sword shall devour the young lions. Okay, so that's the side of you has been gone, has been taken away, cut aside. And I will cut off the prey from earth, and the voice of the messengers shall no more be heard. All right, so that's the second chapter of that. And you have to understand that now there's no way up. All right, there's nothing there. When you choose on the outside, remember he says this energy, the way the stories goes, you can only have one. You can only have one master. And chapter 3 goes on for some time, and it's really, really, really cool. It doesn't go on for some time. It's still the same. It gets to it has 19 different things, but the way I'm just going to, so what it is woe to the bloody city. All right. This is 3. 3 is usually, who do you connect up to? You're going to connect to me, the Lord, the divine, to her, or are you going to go to the strange woman on the street, the harlot, the whore, Well, this one here, you should already know. This thing here is hooked up to the harlot, all right? And, says this one's got all kinds of lies going on. This one's got this will never heal. You'll never get taken care of. You'll never have that grievous wound of yours. That's a grievous wound is whenever you lose this side of your body. What's going to happen? How can you ever get fixed again? And here it is. It says, here it is. This is woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not. That means it's always on. That's the gnawing of teeth or gnashing of teeth. It's always going on. That means there's someone preying, they're feeding off of you. That's what that means. All right, and robbery. It's full of lies and robbery. It's robbing you from your senses. It really is. It's robbing you from God, it steals away your spirituality, and it makes you a dead person. All right. That's what this is really talking about. It says the way this works out is that because you do that, there's dead all around and corpses. Is this the one that has the, yes, let me just read a few of these. All right. It's not a long one, but if you've never read this book before, I've never read this part of the book, go and check it out after this, after we talked about it. And that way you'll develop an ear to what we're listening for. So one is, woe to the bloody city. It is all la 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 la. Number two, the noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of wheels, and the prancing horses, and the jumping chariots. This is all four. This is, they're talking about you. The whole thing, it says here, the noise of the whip, which is the intellect, all right? The rattling of the wheels, which is our northern part, our, because we can't get the chakra system working. That's our emotions, turning, and then we have three would be prancing horses. That's that's this physical side of us, which is the south, and the jumping chariots becomes this. They don't get anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Chariots don't jump. All right. So that's an interesting way of symbolically riding something like that. But that's the two. That's what represents you. And three, what comes out of it? The horsemen the horseman lifts both the bright sword and a glittering spear. And there's a multitude slain and great numbers of carcasses. And there is no end of their corpses, and they stumble upon their corpses because of the multitudes that go into this whoredom with this religion has created dead people out of everybody. Everyone is dead. They're falling over their own corpse. They're tripping over their own corpse. Men on second one on the face, chapter 2 is talking about their legs. That's legs. Legs are the steel parts of these swords, represent what you're standing on. They're knocking together and hurting each other at the knees. They're smiting each other, and they're in the streets, and they're down there with all these other ones. They're like, all these other chariots are banging into each other, on the streets as they're trying to make their way of God for all these people. And it's confusing, and it's noisy, and it's clanking, and all of that stuff. That's what's going on. All right. This is, I will cast this. He says, I will cast this on you. So this is the Lord's going to cast these abominations on you. He's going to fill you with crap and garbage. All right. One day you're going to say, oh, I've had enough of this. Please, God, take it away from me. And he will. That's what happens in Nineveh. But this story is after. So somehow or another, something happened, and somebody, had to ask for it. But we have to also know that there wasn't what came first and what came second in these. We didn't put the books together. They just found a mess of books, and did their best to try to make, this has to come first and this has to come second and all that. So someone else already put in all the order, but it doesn't mean anything. This book could have just not even been left. Three chapters. What's so important about it? All right. Absolutely nothing. All right. Really, there's absolutely nothing. There is nothing here helping anyone out except you and me. It's helping us show that the code, even on these little bitty letters that someone remembered and someone wrote down years and years later, I heard this, and my family's been passing this down for years and years, or something like that. No, it's a book. Someone wrote this. It says, even the Dead Sea Scrolls. These are written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scroll has the code running all the way through it. Just point, point, point. That's where we get their stuff from. All right. So the same people who wrote our Bibles, same ones that wrote the Dead Sea Scroll, because they match. All right. And even when they have like a vehicle, like like Ezekiel taking off on a spaceship taking off to Venus while all this business is going on. It's not that. It's his mind. It's just the Vermanas and all these things. Maybe in the last lifetime, like ours, they probably had things to fly around and stuff like that. But this was a mode of travel to leave Earth and go to heaven. And all these stories, all they're really wanting to go in is see God. And so if you found that heaven's just a thought away, it's a lot easier to travel there than it is, physically to make it up into space. It's easier and within everyone's reach to sit down and become their own method of travel to meet God. But somehow or another, that was just not afforded many people, and it's terrible in that whenever it comes down to it, it was all planned. It was all planned. Now, there's an interesting part in here that's on 9. It says Ethiopia and Egypt were the strength, and it was infinite. Put and Labum were thy helpers. Put and Labum. I'm going to go and look those guys up. Those are from the Egypt things. That's going to be my next ones that we talk about. This is talking about, this is 9. This is what it used to be. What happened? What happened? All right. Yet was she carried away. She was taken into captivity. Her young children also were dashed to pieces at the top of all the streets. And they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. So here they are bringing her again. She's the one that, what happened to her? She was taken away. She was put in, and all of her men and all of her children, everyone was cast away and put in chains. All right. And the stronghold shall be like fig trees, with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall fall into the mouth of the eater. So, if you know about first figs, like I've learned, like first anything on these fruits, it takes more. The first fruits you got to give up. Those are the ones you have to give up because they're just, they just don't got it in them. All right. And it goes right to the mouth of the eater. Very interesting how that works. But he says, I've set you up so you're going into the mouth of the eater. All right. Plus, remember, we are that tree, and the whole reason behind the kundalini, those are flowers. They're always made as flowers and buds or flowers and things. It's new growth, and what it comes in here, it says here that the last one, number 15. There shall the fire devour thee. The sword shall cut thee off, and it shall eat thee up like a cankerworm. Make thyself many as the locust. Shall eat thee up like a cankerworm. Now, that's some pretty serious shit. Oh, that's not the last one either. Damn, I thought it was. It says, for thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoileth and then fleeth away. The crowned areas, the locusts, and the captains as the great grasshoppers, as they camp to the edge of the cold of day. La, 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 la. 18. The shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. The nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people seated upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. All right, so it's just saying everyone's kind of scattered, and there's no one man to gather everyone together. which is you. That means there's no knowledge. You just don't know how to gather, how to pull all this stuff together. There's just no knowledge for a long time. I'm helping you with that if I can. And number 19, this is your last one. It says, there is no healing of the bruise. Thy wound is grievous. And all that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee. For upon whom hath not the wickedness passed continually? All right. I hate reading. I absolutely hate reading. What it's saying here is that, when they talk about the bruise of the heel, this is that idea that you could go and get it healed and get that grievous wound, leaving everything desolate, because the way has been made, the gates have been opened, the water has been drained, the palace has been melted or, dissolved. So none of this is there. The way is not there. And get this, a cankerworm. Do you know what a cankerworm is? A cankerworm, it says that it's a moth that has wingless females. All right? That means that, you there's no way to fly. You don't have that vehicle for flight. Of course, it tells you that it is taking away the messenger from you. That's what this 1, 2, 3, this is what this book is about. You ain't got no shit. You're on your own. All right? And what do the cankerworms do? They consume the buds and the leaves of trees. Pretty interesting stuff for 6,000-year-old writing. All right? So it followed the code perfectly. And it also tells us a story about us being kind of left on our own. And that, God creates both sides of this. I'm going to do this to you. I'm having this. So you know what it means when you have a hardened heart, you're dead. So, if you're going to soften your hearts, and this is when you learn to sow the seed correctly, you are serving the Lord with your whole heart and your whole mind. And you're doing just what they say to do. You're honoring mother and father. You're going Jesus. You're following Jesus's way. All right. And the only thing they keep forgetting about, you're joining up with mom. And that's the coolest thing about it all. All right. So, anyways, best to you guys. We'll go find another book. We'll find another book to tear up. See what's going on. All right. But I often say that if, you can go fast through these stories because, I just read them and then I come out here and I start talking about them. That's why it's kind of, I probably should meditate on them and I have more information. But then the short bus shows up tomorrow. But basically, the way that story runs, this Nahum guy, the comforter is when you learn how to get in there. Comforter is God, all right? It's she and he and you, coming together as one. That's comfort coming to you. You're not going to get it anywhere else. That's what they say. And that this book here is telling you, again, mentioning her, the one that you should be going to, and because you've taken on a different her spirituality is a female situation, and you have the womankind, and then you have the whore. All right, so there's still, one is the real thing, and the other is the second best. All right, it seems to be that everybody really loves that whore. I think they say because we are attracted to her looks, and it's our eyes that give us away, and our ears, and to see how beautiful everything is, and all of the rubies and the gold and all of that, But when this happens, toss the silver into the street. Hey, take over. Hey, look, there's even gold. Take the spoils. Take it all. Take it all. It's pretty crazy shit. All right. So, anyways, I didn't see where it hit anything in that Bible there. We all heard it all, but it wasn't how they took care of Nineveh. No, this is talking about a person. This is talking about what you do with religion or with your spirituality. How do you go about serving the Lord? There you are. Beautiful day to you guys. Hallelujah. This is the night of what do they call that? A Super Bowl. Super Bowl. So enjoy yourselves. Probably won't get nobody to listen until after the game. It's cool.